I recently had the pleasure of speaking to prominent American political scientist and author Professor Norman Finkelstein regarding the current situation in the Middle East. The following are excerpts from that telephone conversation. There's a widespread message in the mainstream media that Iran poses a major threat to Israel. Do you have any comment on that?
Well, if you look at the serious analysts, even on the right wing, they don't really claim that Iran poses a threat to Israel. What they say is that Iran and Israel, Iran on one side and Israel and the United States on the other side, are fighting over regional hegemony. What's going to be the dominant power in the region? And the fear is that if Iran, if and when it were to acquire nuclear weapons, leaving aside the issue of whether or not it's even embarked on such a program, the fear is that it's just going to give Iran more weight in the region, that Iran wants to assert itself as a major regional power, and the United States and Israel consider the Middle East their bailiwick. They're in charge. So it really has nobody seriously believes that Iran is going to, use nuclear weapons against Israel or any of that. That's just ridiculous. And the serious analysts acknowledge that.
You've spoken of the possibility of another imminent Mideast war, which would be launched by Israel against Lebanon. Do you have any specific evidence to support that?
It's a common topic of discussion. Nobody really denies it. For example, sitting in the Council of Foreign Relations is a fellow named Daniel Kurtzer, who's the former American ambassador to Israel. And about 3 months ago, Kurtzer wrote a memorandum for the Council on Foreign Relations, in which he says that there's speculation there'll be a war in the next 12 to 18 months, and that it's more likely that Israel will start it. And then the Israeli Israeli lobby think tank YNAP, the Washington Institute for Near East Policy, they put out a paper discussing the possibilities and probabilities of a war between Israel and Hezbollah. And the Israelis, say it with quite great frequency, though they claim it's Hezbollah that will start it. But they say with quite great frequency that a war is possible, if not probable. One thing you could say with certainty, if a war starts, Israel will not accept a third defeat at the hands of the Hezbollah. There's just no chance. And if it seems as if a defeat is impending, let's just say Israel will do what it has to do to make sure it's not defeated. On the other side, the Hezbollah will not accept a defeat by Israel, and what's more important, if a defeat is impending on the Hezbollah side, then there seems little doubt that Iran will enter, not because of any sense of solidarity, but because Iran will know that it's next. One of the main reasons for the attack on Lebanon in August 2006 was to pave the way for an attack on Iran. And that was pretty straightforward back then, that the defeat of Hezbollah would either be a huge psychological blow to Iran, or it would be used as a way station to a full-fledged military assault on Iran. And this time around also, Iran perfectly well understands that if Hezbollah is defeated, it's next. And so Iran will almost certainly at some level enter the conflict, and from there on in, there's just no predicting where it'll go.
Why would Israel want another war?
Well, Israel is now, from its point of view, in a difficult situation because the tide is clearly turning in that corner of the world. There was already the beginnings of an alignment between Iran, Syria, Hezbollah, Hamas, and then a new protagonist entered the picture, namely Turkey, which is Turkey is walking basically a tightrope. On the one hand, it doesn't want to completely sever its relations with Israel. On the other hand, it does want to play a more significant role in the Arab Muslim world. And Israel has kind of completely let loose of its senses. And even when Turkey makes it offers, which are not really very demanding, they're saying that Israel has to offer an apology and compensation for what happened on the Mavi Marmara. Now, bear in mind, they're not asking for criminal prosecution of the Israeli commandos who summarily executed 6 of the 9 passengers who ended up dead on the Mavi Marmara. They're just asking for compensation and apology. But the Israeli political establishment has moved so far to the right that they're not even capable of doing that. And so there is an alignment of powers that's consolidating in the Arab Muslim world, which can't make Israel very happy. And so it feels the need to kind of deal a decisive blow like the one it dealt in June 1967 in order to humble and humiliate the Arab Muslim world. And as of now, the only real option they have is to go after the Hezbollah. Iran is not really a live option. So it's likely there will be a war.
Can you please elaborate on why Israel would feel the need to humble and humiliate the Arab Muslim world?
The real story begins in May 2000 when Israel suffered a major military defeat in Lebanon at the hands of the Hezbollah, the Party of God. There had been a 17-year-long guerrilla war waged by the Hezbollah against the Israeli occupying army. And in May 2000, Israel was forced to retreat. Israel was determined to undo that defeat, or what Israel calls that loss of its deterrence capacity. Deterrence capacity is just this fancy term, meaning the Arab Muslim world's fear of Israel. And there was the feeling after the defeat that the Arab Muslim world was no longer as fearful of Israel as it ought to be. And so Israel wanted to restore its deterrence capacity, restore the Arab Muslim world's fear of it, and impatiently wait for an opportunity, an occasion to strike Hezbollah again. In July 2006, it found that pretext, went into Lebanon with a fury and a vengeance, caused significant civilian casualties and destruction of civilian infrastructure, but nonetheless suffered again a major battlefield defeat against the Hezbollah. And so now Israel had suffered a succession of military defeats, worried that its deterrence capacity was significantly diminished, and the head of the Hezbollah, Sayed Nasrallah, was not averse to rubbing it into the faces of the Israelis that the Arab Muslim world was no longer afraid of it. And so Israel needed a place to restore its deterrence capacity. It didn't believe that it could yet do so against the Hezbollah. It didn't yet have a military option. And so it decided to prove its military prowess by going into Gaza in 2008, 2009, and inflicting not so much a military defeat on the Hamas, because Hamas wasn't a fighting force, but inflicting so much death and destruction that it would make the Arab Muslim world wary of defying Israel in the future. And the Israelis, incidentally, were very straightforward about it. Over and over again, is a newspaper columnists, senior officials, and so forth were saying the war they're fighting in Gaza is the war to undo what happened in 2006. It had nothing to do with what the people of Gaza or Hamas did or did not do.